All right. Great afternoon. Great afternoon, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to our Gravity Talks Mental Health in the class of 2020. Now, as we have our introduction plan, I invite you to start your own watch party live on Facebook, so then that way others can join and hear what awesome panel we have today. And to do so, you can go to share under the Elberton Enrichment Services post, and I will follow you in doing so. Let's see. And then you can start your watch party that way. So guests, do you see that option?
I'm on the page.
And we'll go to share for this current event. And start our watch party.
So while we're getting the watch party started, guys, we're asking that you guys send shout outs to all the graduates that are in your family, that are in your circles. Definitely put their name in the school that they went to, they graduated from. We want to recognize them during this. They didn't get a normal graduation, so we definitely want to recognize them as many times as we can. So send us their names, put their names out there, what school they went to, and we're just going to try our best to give shout outs to those that you include on this thread.
All right. So we'll go ahead and get started. Great afternoon. I'm your host, Vicki Elberton.
And I'm your host, Natasha Lewis.
Again, thank you for joining us for our Gravity Talks Mental Health in the class of 2020. Yay! We're really excited about this particular panel today because we have some awesome guests with us, and we'll have some awesome guests that will be joining us momentarily. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you Mr. Principal Tabari Wallace, AKA, can I tell him the other name?
You can do it.
Snoop from East Carolina University. Principal Wallace, tell the people who you are and what you do.
Okay, I'm Tabari Wallace. I am the proud principal of the viral class of 2020 of West Craven High School. Also a state board advisor, Speaker Moore appointee to the Pepsi Commission, and proud Craven Community College Board of Trustee appointed by Governor Cooper, as just to name a few of the many of God's blessing that he's bestowed on this little man from Duffield right here.
All right. Thank you, Principal Wallace. Also joining us today, we have Coach Nicole.
Hi, Nicole Myers. I'm the head varsity basketball coach at Southeast Raleigh High School, as well as a 19-year veteran in the area of special education. So I'm excited to be with you guys today.
Awesome. We're excited to have you. So again, we have a couple other graduates, 2020 graduates that will be joining us momentarily. So without further ado, we'll jump right in.
So glad to have both of you guys here with us today. I'm going to go ahead and get started with my first question. And my first question is going to go to Coach Nicole. I'd like to know, what is your connection to mental health? You can give us past or present.
You know, really my connection to mental health has been tied into my experience as a special ed teacher. And, with my 19 years in special education, I've, had a lot of relationships with mental health workers as it pertains to our special education kids, whether it's through a day treatment program, whether it's through a group home setting, just really engaging with those workers just to make sure that we're all on the same page as it pertains to helping our kids.
Okay. What are some of the challenges that you experienced in that connection with working with different in different capacities with the mental health?
Well, just making sure that the lines of communication are open, because a lot of times it's difficult to communicate from school to an outside setting, and making sure that just everybody is on board, because we know that it takes a team effort to reach kids, and just making sure there's no hidden agendas, and that, just everybody is on board with making sure our kids are successful.
Okay. Do you have like any special trainings or anything that kind of keep you guys connected with that? Or is it kind of just a process of being in special education?
Yeah, it's the experience with that. And then also, throughout the year, just a professional development geared towards that. Is something that we really focus on, making sure that, our department members get as well, so that we can stay on top of current issues.
Same question for you, Principal.
Oh, and I think mine is more of a, it's same along with working in schools for the last 20 years, and being an administrator and being, the one responsible for making sure all IEPs in regards to our EC program is adhered to, making sure that each child, and I always say each and every, I never say all, because you can get lost in the translation when you say the word or use the construct all. I always say make sure each and every child IEP is followed, and make sure that we're meeting the needs of each one. And us as administrators, we take that extremely. We're proud to have that banner on it to make sure that we take care of our babies, because again, truly takes a village. But in regards to mental health, it takes a village plus the specialists to make sure that we bridge that divide, to make sure that our students become self-actualized whenever they finish their educational journey.
So have there been any concerns as it relates to kids not being in school as far as their mental health and what's happening?
That is a big piece that we're working on at the state level as well as the local level. That social emotional piece in regards to the babies, but we do not have them in school, and we don't have them in brick and mortar. We truly worry about what they go through at home. Again, the IEPs it's hard to transition those IEPs to the home front and make sure they're adhered to. The teachers did their best in regards to the academic piece of the IEP, whether it's math or ELA or even science. But we're really concerned when we have the controlled environment here at school. We actually can make sure and ensure that those strategies are implemented. When it gets home, we can advise. Again, we truly hope that parents, that piece of the village, to make sure it's being adhered to. But that is a big component from what, especially as we start next year, because we may be digital, that we really focus on the social emotional point, not only of EC students, but of teachers and at-large students as well.
Now that's what I want to get to.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I'm gonna hold my question in a minute.
Well, go ahead and ask. Because I was gonna get to that question, but you just took us right on into it, which is great. And because I just really, I can appreciate the level of support that our educators are having, and I just want to know like some of the challenges that you guys are facing, because there's been a big gap. They've been out of school, and there's been a huge gap in having those connections. Are you guys doing like follow-ups? Or I know some of you guys are out for the summer. So, I mean, do you guys, any kind of process or anything that you guys are doing? I know we're talking about 2020, but I do want to know about the next classes coming in as well. What do you have, Principal?
Okay, what we did going back to 2020, the class, what we did administratively was we made sure that we met with our classes, where each grade level, freshmen, sophomore, juniors, and us as administrators, just to let them know we're here. A lot of people do not understand a cultural aspect of education. A lot of parents and adults just put their kids on that big old yellow bus and just send them on to school, and they really don't understand what that is. That is, I will tell you, 90% of the babies' safety point. They get their hugs at school. They see their friends at school. I mean, there's so many other invisible.
They get their food. They get their food.
Exactly. So I mean, and every child realizes that they're one caring adult away from success, and that person could take the form of the bus driver, the cafeteria worker. It could be the custodian. It could be the front office worker. It could be the teacher. It could be the EC teacher. Anywhere that child finds that one person that they want to impress and they want to succeed for, because they'll do it for somebody else way before they do it for themselves. We don't get that till we get to college. Ain't that right, Vicky? That's when we realize we start doing things for ourselves. Other than that, it was for mama, for coach, or for what so have you. So that's what makes education so special. And that's why I love the profession that I chose, because we actually affect the future. If we're going to change the world, we do it right there in that brick and mortar building, which we call school.
Well, I have one follow-up to what you said, and just to make sure that I'm absorbing everything that you're saying. And the coach, you can answer this as well. But it sounds like that you guys are that level of support, but it sounds like that the children, the students are a great level of support. It's almost like your medicine every day. As far as, so I know there's got to be some tough issues connected with not even having that level. Cause I know for me working with kids, just to see them sometimes changes my whole course of the day. They make you laugh. They change your mood. Doesn't matter what happened the night before, the day before, when you see those kids and they can show you that level of appreciation, it changes your whole day. So how's that been going for you guys?
Coach Nicole, I refer to you.
Well, we kind of had a unique situation at Southeast, especially as it pertains to basketball, because we were 2 days away from playing for a state championship before it got canceled.
Right.
So our season ended abruptly. And it was tough to kind of navigate that, especially with, teenagers and they had high hopes for playing that game, and to see that snatched away. Was a tough pill for them to swallow. But what I will say is those girls showed tremendous resilience and really taught me some things as well about handling that type of situation. So, being in that unique situation just really showed me how strong our young people are. And, a lot of times we expect the adults to be strong, but our kids are resilient, and they've showed their resiliency just in handling everything that's happened within the past 3 months.
And what I wanted to chime in and say, kind of thinking back to when Natasha and I put together hot topics that we love to cover with our show, the class of 2020 kept ringing. And as we were identifying folks that we felt would be community leaders, thought leaders, educational leaders, you all, of course, came to mind. And so right there, what Coach Nicole shared about with the championship game being 2 days away. And then I followed you on Facebook when you shared the news with us about how the selection was made. But imagine the emotional, change that happened with not just the girls, but also you and your coaching staff, because y'all worked so hard the whole year leading to this. And so when you compound the pandemic with COVID-19, along with something that y'all been working, it's like going to the Olympics. You train for the Olympics for 4 years, get there, and then all of a sudden do it to a technicality, you're not able to perform. It's like, are you serious?
Right.
So, that's why we thought you would be an awesome person on the panel to share what was those undertones like, and how did you have to step in your role, but also step out of your role as just a coach, but also that mentor to kind of help the girls, as they were dealing with that.
Right. And, we just, I had to keep it real with them and let them know how I felt. And I gave them a space to, to kind of air out their feelings as well, because, it was a disappointment. And to act like it was not would have just been fake. So, we just really had to have real conversations. We got together on Group Meet and just were really able to, touch base with each other, just check in and make sure everybody was doing all right. And, sing base with them, making sure they had everything that they needed going into graduation, and just making sure that everybody was handling that situation as best they could.
Mm-hmm. And then you being there for them, because of course, just like with children in a home, our students look to the adult and they look to their leader for that comfort. Okay, is it okay not to panic? What should we do? Should we be upset? Should we not be upset? And you providing that safe zone for them to be able to express the frustration, because I'm sure you all felt what you felt, and that was your intimate moment with your team, but then to be able to move past that, because it shows that level of resilience. So my hat's off to you, Coach. I tell you, I know that was a tough one, but you all have continued to thrive through the pandemic. And Principal Wallace, now with you also, that being that leader in education and also giving that additional push of hope. Tell us a little bit about what you did that was special, that got you national recognition.
Well, we were talking as Ms. Lewis said earlier. we found out the kids, without the kids, it's work. Y'all working from home is work. We can't wait to get back in the building. I mean, it is. I mean, when you don't have the children there, I mean, you really have to deal with when you're having a bad day, when you usually go in the classroom and watch the kids excel, you come right out of it. I mean, it was actually work. The central office realized you home and you ain't got number of time, so they just keep piling on. But as far as the babies, as Coach Nicole just told us, that the students lost so much. Not only did they lose the basketball championships, they also lost the spring sports. That is softball, baseball, track, girls and boys track. I mean, you know, I think it's girls soccer across the state. We lost all that. They lost the band, their culminating EOG, the band, what they call band MPAs. They lost the choral MPAs. They lost junior, senior weekend, senior breakfast. I can just keep going. Traditional graduation. I mean, their graduation consisted of standing on the stage with the principal, smiling for the picture, and walking off stage going to your car.
Wow.
I mean, I understand what the ladies went through with that basketball, but imagine going through 13 years. You hear from the leaving, you know, the class that preceded you, how great it is to be a senior and what you're going to get to go through. And then just like that on March 13th, it's snatched away. So that's why we're trying to put, you know, we're talking about mental health, but there's a lot of people that suffer in silence. And students as well. So we have to be knowledgeable of that. So what we did was we took a suggestion from our central office, and they came up with these signs. And we thought on the west side, we would make this a big deal. We weren't just going to put it in the yard and walk off. I mean, we were going to make it a big deal. So we got up with the community. We had fire trucks. We serviced 485 square miles. And the reason why we did it like this, y'all, is because they said I couldn't do it. And I love when you tell me I couldn't do something like that. So I'm going to show you I can do it. So we called in all the municipalities from all 485 square miles. And we shot out in 10 different caravans, complete with fire truck, sheriff, and a caravan of cars. And we delivered these signs to the seniors, to the class of 2020. But we were dressed in full regalia. We took graduation to their doorstep. And we put that sign out in the yard with an elevator speech telling them, let this sign serve as a reminder that this particular school, West Craven High School, because our graduation is August 1st. I don't know if y'all heard, but this particular sign is going to sit in your yard until we can get you across the traditional stage with all the pomp and circumstance that you deserve. That we're going to make sure that happening. The governor willing. Now, he scared me to death with that, what he just announced. But, but I'll talk to him next week sometime. But we will definitely push for to have the traditional graduation. We've already given them a digital one on the 13th on graduation day. So they've had one. But we want the pomp and circumstance. And every time they walk out of that door, they're going to see that sign and know, like, my graduation's coming. And they're all bring their signs to graduation so we can put it all the way around the field, because that was their bridge to get into their, that's the least we can give them since they lost everything is a traditional graduation.
Wow.
Yeah, Coach. I'm gonna tell you, Coach, I went to a graduation and I'm gonna tell you, I was getting ready to work myself up to cry, and it went by so fast. I couldn't even get myself, my chest had started, and it was over. I said, this is it. And they tell you to get back in your car. I said, oh my God, you 13 years for 13 seconds. I was upset. I didn't even get my cry on. So I'm glad that you guys are doing that prayerfully, with safety in mind. Prayerfully, you guys will be able to execute that in August, because it's nothing like being able to get that cry on for those distant family members and things of that nature. We having to do it in the yard and sending pictures. It's just been it's been a major adjustment, and so I'm glad that you did that. Thank you so much. It's just been a challenge for all of us. I mean, you look forward to that day. You look forward to that moment. So I'm glad that you got the support, and I am so super excited that you did something that they didn't think you would be able to do, which is I think that's going to be great and inspirational and motivational for the class. They're seeing their leader. He's done something in spite of it all. So hopefully that'll give them some good nuggets to move forward.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis.
So with the awesome works, a lot of you all have poured your own selves into the whole emotional roller coaster that was associated with initially, this pandemic. And as the whole world went through it together, not really knowing, what was up with this silent killer. right? And then cross that over to now, again, our children, our students are looking to us on what to do. You know, how is this going to pan out? And then you couple that with, this is a graduating class. As you mentioned, Principal Wallace and Coach Nicole, you've worked all your life for a moment such as this. Now what? So when you've poured in back into the students to help them through the transition, what about yourselves? Because we touched on it a little bit about the teachers, the staff, what they went through. But you as leaders, what did you go through? And how did you cope with that? And what are you doing now, like self-care related? What are you doing now about it? So, Nicole.
Yeah, I think one thing is having a good circle of friends where you can keep it real and vent, to just let them know, how you're feeling, and just keeping those open lines of communication. Also, one thing I found that has helped me is exercising. And one would think, with me being a basketball coach and having played in college as well, that I would like exercise. I do not. But what I have found in all of this free time that we have now is that just getting outside and even if it's just walking, getting in 5 miles a day, just being at peace, just being able to have that quiet where you're just able to kind of be alone with yourself. But then also you reap the benefits of the exercises as well. So just really pouring into myself that way. And also just spending time where you can with family, and just making sure those connections are still intact. But really exercise has been that thing for me these past 3 months to relieve all the stress from basketball to graduation, to dealing with COVID. And, I had a family member that was touched by that as well. So,
Wow.
just handling those things through exercise has really been beneficial to me.
Thank you for sharing, Coach, because I share one thing with you. I don't like to exercise either. But I am finding that, like you said, just going outside and getting out in that fresh air, it does something to us, and it helps rejuvenate us so that we can keep going.
Absolutely.
So thank you for sharing. How about you, Principal Wallace?
I would definitely say, and I would start by, and I know Coach Nicole can identify with this, in administration and in coaching, when you're leading a staff and everybody's looking to you, especially during times of struggle and emergency, like the pandemic that we're going through right now, your staff looks to you for pretty much to guide them, and you have to be able to be extremely selfless instead of selfish to make sure that you're the conduit of information coming from the state and the district coming down to them and pouring into their vessel, making sure that they don't get overwhelmed, which would just unintentionally go towards the kids, if you get what I'm saying, because things roll down here. So I always ask the professionals, who does the doctor go to? Who does the therapist call when they need therapists? Who does the pastor go to? Human term, okay? When they need spiritual guidance. Who do you go to? And y'all, we got to turn to each other. You got to turn to fellow principals. You got to turn to fellow coaches, fellow pastors, and what's so have you. Doctors go to each other when they need help. So you have to surround yourself with positive people. And like Coach Nicole said, that you can vent and be honest with. Because if you suffer in silence, it just compounds the anxiety that you're experiencing at that point. So I always use that term. There comes a time, because us in education, we're so selfless that we continue to give, never say no, never say no. But when it comes to your health, your mental health, and your sanity, that's the one time you have to be selfish. Father's 29 years in the Navy. He said, if your ship goes down, you can't carry nobody. So you don't do anybody any good when all of you in the water waiting on somebody else to come rescue now all of you when you attempted to rescue them. So you just got to remember that whenever you're going through it, and just be intentional in doing things that you like, as Coach Nicole said. I like seafood. I hate exercising too, but shoot, that school that I'm on, we own 17 acres. That's exercise. Going to work is exercise. We don't have golf carts out in the rural area. But I would say I love seafood. So I have been going 2 times a week to go get me some seafood and dishes that I love, and kind of spoiling myself, because that's something I love to do. I usually have to wait till I get to Myrtle Beach at the beginning of August when we go on vacation. But I've been eating calabash for the last 2, 3, 4 weeks. But just being intentional and taking care of yourself, y'all. That's what you have to do.
That's really good to hear. I'm just curious to know this one thing, and I know we're getting ready to bring on our graduates, but do you guys have any reservations about next year? When next year comes in, as far as mental health and as far as, how that's going to look, and you have, I know that can definitely cause some stressors and strains on thinking about what that's going to look like and all of those things. And I know you said earlier that Mr. Snoop, I know you said earlier that it might be that you guys may be digital, but if not, are there any stressors or anxiety about that?
I would say if we are not digital, I think we're good. We go back to normal. The students get their routine back. They see their friends. The social emotional takes care of itself because the babies now have each other. They're 6 feet apart, but at least they can see their friends. So that's a concern of going digital. You're absent that. Once we learned how to use Zoom, once we all left, you should have saw the reaction of the students when they saw each other on the computer screen. I mean, that's where culture drives academics. I don't care what you hear from the state or national level. If you take away that cultural piece, the arts, right, athletics, the time during class change where kids can commiserate with one another, your academics is going to fall. That's what's keeping at least 40% of the students in school in the first place. So that's what people need to understand. If we do not get to go to brick and mortar, and all the committees I serve on at the state level, I am shouting it from the mountaintop. If we do not get to go back to that brick and mortar school, we will have a gap in education because we will not have the extrinsic motivators to trigger intrinsic workload. Right. Okay, that's the key that they need to understand. So without one, you can't have the other. You can have it and check the box, but we'll see it when EOCs come out in June of next year when we actually take those standardized tests and watch we go into a free fall. And then everybody starts panicking. When you should have listened to us in the first place when we tried to tell you in the summer of 2020 what was going to happen before we get to 2021. Sorry, Coach Nicole. I mean,
no, you're fine. Preach that.
Right. And I see you passionate about it, Principal Wallace, because I was about to say I kind of agree, but respectfully disagree is in the sense of, of course, we want them to be able to get that cultural connection and get that intrinsic back. We get that. You get a lot of that being face to face, but you still can't touch. So a lot of times it's like, you want to just lead me to the window and I can't get in the store. I just couldn't look from outside. It's like, what does that do? And then you're dealing with this pandemic that is deadly. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like you still have like whether or not, I'm blessed. I have 2 boys. So their social connection to each other and they can play with each other and do things to each other. Even though they miss their peers, they have each other. Mm-hmm. But I feel like they would be safer at home. Then I'd rather at least let this fall semester go through virtually and then let the spring, especially since they saying the second wave gonna come back. But I know that's a whole nother conversation. I don't want to get off track. Because us pirates can go there back and forth, respectfully debate this thing. But I appreciate the passion and the effort that's going on behind the scenes so that if they are going to make it work, what they're doing to make it work as safely as possible. So I do appreciate that, sure.
We do have plans, Vicki, trust me. We have 3 plans of bringing them back. And like you said, we have A Day, B Day, but we also have A and PM, where you won't have no more than 13 children in a class together. And with 13 kids in the class, you can be safely 6 feet. Okay. And again, it will be dampened a little bit. There will be no touching and they will be masked up, but at least they get to see each other. You see what I'm saying? It's not over this digital. Kids are part of digital right now. So that's what I was saying.
Okay. But I like, I'm always going to sprinkle that mental health in there. So as long as they have resources available to kind of help the kids with that transition, because again, especially the younger kiddos, it's hard for them to realize you can't run up to your friend and hug her, So those are things we got to keep in mind too. So, okay, cool deal. So Natasha, you got any thoughts on bringing the graduates?
I think I'm kind of back and forth with you, Mr. Snoop. And it's just because, it's just so many things, and I probably watch the news too much. I think that's my problem, that I watch the news too much and all of the things that they're saying that could potentially come. And the last thing, we as adults, we can handle anything, but the kids, it's like we want to protect them as much as we can. And so, it's like if we expose them to that environment, but I also understand that, they're kids like to touch. They like to hug their teachers. They like to give them high five, the dap, all of those things. Those things are going to be gone, and we're going to effectively be able to tell them, you can't do that, and they're not going to do it. I mean, I don't know if that's going to work, especially for the little ones and then the high schoolers. I'm just not sure, but I totally agree with your idea. I definitely do. So that's all. I just want to put that out there.
Natasha, I was going to say, I tell you what, let's bring in our graduates and let's hear what they got to say about it. This is a healthy debate here. All right.
Get ready. Get ready.
Let me bring them in and give them a little surprise real quick. Let's see. Here you guys go. You have your own Facebook Live graduation.
Yes, thank you.
Congratulations, fellow Lewis Jr. and Bria Perry, graduating class of 2020.
Thank you, guys.
All right. So thank you guys for joining us. As you probably have been watching, let's see, we've had some great conversation thus far. So I want to give you all a chance to introduce yourselves and tell a little bit about who you are, what school you graduated from, and what you plan on doing for the future. So we'll start with you, Miss Bria.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I am Bria, and I just graduated from UNC Wilmington, the University of North Carolina, Wilmington, with a Bachelor of Arts in Communication Studies and a minor in journalism. And I'm still out there looking for what I want to do. I could do anything in the communication field, from social media management to journalism to reporting, news, any of that kind of thing, digital content creation. So I am very open to doing anything that allows me to kind of use my creative skills to change something, whether it's a business or the world, or a business that's trying to change the world. All that good stuff.
Awesome. Thank you, Miss Bria. And congratulations again. It sounds awesome with your degree. And Miss Lewis will probably share in a minute, because I think that's similar to her undergrad. All right. So Mr. Fellow, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where'd you graduate from and what's your plans for the future?
Okay, so hi everybody. My name is Fellow. I am a graduate of Philip O'Berry High School in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I will be attending Jackson State University in the fall to major in criminal justice.
Nice.
Ooh, criminal justice. Congratulations, sir. All right. So thank you guys for joining us. Again, as I mentioned earlier, we wanted to have a show about mental health in the class of 2020, because as we all know, the first thing that hit us was this COVID-19 pandemic. And we initially just assumed some type of medical or physical course concern, but we didn't realize how it was going to trickle into everything, all aspects of life, including the education system. And so now we want to give you a chance to kind of share a little bit about, I think Natasha has a question for you guys that, we want to learn a little bit about your thoughts and insight about what happened with this whole pandemic in 2020.
Yeah, I do. I was thinking about it, and, they just called off everything, told everybody to go home, closed schools, sent the students home. But to be honest, we kind of thought that the outcome was going to be what it has been, but we weren't really sure. We didn't know that last day that we, left the dorm or left the area, left the classroom, or that we left school was going to be the last time that we literally, as seniors, as a graduate, that was going to be the last time that we actually saw someone face to face, breathing in front of us. And so we didn't know that. So I'm just curious just to kind of know from you guys, And I guess we can start with Bria. Like, what has it been like for the remainder of your academic year that, you know, this pandemic's been going on? How's that been for you?
Yeah, Miss Natasha, you really hit the nail on the head there, where it kind of for me was just missing that finality of everything. Because kind of this unspoken thing happens at graduation where it's like, okay, you're saying your goodbyes to people you know you're not really going to talk to ever again, and you're kind of deciding in your head, okay, this is somebody I want to keep in contact with even after we're done with college, and you don't get that then, and so it's like it's almost like a losing a closure of some sort, and even knowing so UNC Wilmington is in Wilmington, North Carolina. It's about 2 hours away from where I live in Raleigh. And when I was still in Wilmington, still going to school physically, I didn't know that a lot of the places that I favored, all of my favorite restaurants, all of my favorite, you know, places to go with my friends, that would be the last time I would see it for a long time. And so, you know, we were given like maybe like 4 days to get off campus after they gave the call that we wouldn't be able to come back. And so within that 4 days, I felt like I had to squeeze all of my last moments in. And so I'm like trying to get to my favorite park, and I'm like, okay, goodbye, favorite park. Or, you know, me and my best friend driving around campus saying goodbye to all of our favorite places, the student center, our favorite places to eat, our academic buildings. And I don't know, that was really hard because I think in a regular traditional graduation, you're building up to that moment. You're expecting to say goodbye to these things, but you're not expecting, like we did, to have 2.5 seconds to say goodbye to those things. So that was really hard. I will say, maybe to make up for it, was I just happened to have really understanding professors. And so for the rest of the academic year, they were just really gracious and kind of lightened our workload, and you know, just tried to stay in contact and make sure that we were supported as much as we could. I know not everybody got that privilege, but I just happen to have amazing professors, I guess. And so my academic year, like academically, the load was was lightened a lot. And so I was able to finish pretty confidently and still pretty strong, even though I wasn't in that work environment. But it was still difficult because, kind of like Mr. Wallace was saying, you miss that kind of extrinsic value of being on campus and being in the library. Yeah, like being in the library and being, you know, coming into your dorm room and, like, you know, your roommates are having to work on work too. And so you come in and join, and you're sitting at the kitchen table joining your friends while we're trying to do work. And then, you know, small things like, okay, if we get this essay done, we can go out to Cookout for a milkshake to yes. So that was those were kind of the big things that were missed for me.
And you know, that reality of saying goodbye was taken.
Yeah.
Even now, you know, I look back and I remember my own graduation. My undergrad was in communication studies as well. So we talked a lot, and we did a lot. We talked a lot more, and, you know, everything was about a speech and preparing something. And so it was a lot of talking, and, you know, you kind of prepare your speech in your mind for that last day, graduation day, and then it never happens. So I can only imagine that. You know, I look back and I'm just like, wow. And I'm going to ask a fellow as well. Like I can look back at my yearbook right now and I see that, you know, I'm not sure if I want to share what year I graduated, but I can look back and I can see when my yearbook was signed, you know, and I'm able to go back and have that reflection. So did you get your yearbook signed, fellow? By your classmates?
No, I was not able to get my yearbook signed. No. So to get our yearbooks, we actually, everything was a drive-through. So graduation was a drive-through, yearbooks was a drive-through, picking up your cap and gown was a drive-through. And then what my school did, so like the student government, they posted something on Instagram, you can make your own page and people can come on and sign it virtually. So that's what we got to do.
Wow. So how's it been for you? Just kind of that last day of school and really realizing you weren't going back. And how was that for you? I know you missed prom. Come on, talk to us.
Yeah. I missed prom. So a lot of seniors that didn't go junior prom, we didn't go junior year because we were saying, okay, we have senior years to go.
Yeah.
And that was like a big disappointment for us. Senior week activities, like when we get to show off like what school we're going to, and we come and we wear our school paraphernalia and stuff. We missed that. But then, my school, they tried to do a lot of stuff to make up for it. So like everything was through Instagram. So we got to take pictures and show what school we're going to, what we're majoring in. And so they made an Instagram page just for that. And then they did a lot of things. So like they showed off who got scholarships and what schools we're going to. So my school, they kind of tried to do a lot to make up for what we didn't get to have in person.
Yeah, I want to say congratulations to you, and
Yes,
I mean,
congratulations.
It's nothing like the prom. I'm gonna tell you, everybody on the panel got to go to their prom if they wanted to. We all, and we look back on it. Well,
I didn't get to go.
Well, almost everybody.
If we wanted to, I didn't go by choice because I chose to work. I was trying to get my money up for college, and I was working at McDonald's, and I got a little overtime, so I was working. However, I regret not going. I had a choice, so I know this choice was stripped from you guys. So my heart goes out for sure.
Mm.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm gonna go and tell you, I went, but we went 4x2. Running for the state championship at Carolina for the track state championship. Prom was that night. If you know the 4x2, that's the last race, buddy. So we kind of coaxed them and letting us run before the last distance one so we can go ahead and get on the road to get back. But we came in, probably broke every law in North Carolina to get there. But, we got there and still had 2 hours to really party at that prom. So I'm so glad that I made that made it happen. So, Vicky, you missed something because more prom was a definitely memorable event. I will tell you that.
Definitely.
Wow. Well, I guess another question I have is, when the pandemic hit, it was some things that you all had to do to kind of make adjustments. And Bria, I know you shared about what you normally would have did with your classmates, sitting at the table, y'all study together, have your study groups. To finish off the year, and as our shirt says, I don't know if you can see, but it says class of 2020 quarantine, and it says something about Zoom. Hold on. Like a real senior, but with more Zoom and less toilet paper.
That's amazing. I need that shirt.
You can have mine.
Okay.
So it became the year of virtualism, right? And fast forward to Zoom, even though, especially you all millennials, and I guess they call y'all Generation Y, is that right? Or
Sure.
Z?
I don't know
might
what
be
generation I'm in. I feel like I'm on the cuff because I was born in '98, and it's just weird.
Probably on the cusp.
Wish I
Well,
could call me.
y'all are no stranger to technology, but some of us other folk, we had to get acclimated very fast. But education before your eyes, and like you said, even though it was not as much work per se, which I think I got some other people saying that it was a lot of work, trying to finish up. But you all boosted into the Zoom world or the Google Classroom or whatever they were using. So share a little bit about what you all had to go through, to get to graduation. Like, even though you didn't have your traditional graduation, you still had to finish the work to be able to get, get your papers. So tell us a little bit about what that experience was like and the stress associated with that, the anxiety of the internet crashing. I ain't gonna name no names, but it was one provider out here saying it was giving away free internet.
Mm-hmm.
Only to find out everybody didn't qualify for it. And then when you did get it, it wasn't the best quality because everybody in the house was using the internet because everybody was working remote. So to add that stress on top of you can't even get in the Blackboard or do your assignment. So share a little bit about that, guys.
Yeah, so like you said, it wasn't hard to get acclimated to Zoom per se. And I just happened to have classes where my professors were not trying to do weekly Zoom calls. They were like, we know y'all don't want to do it. We don't want to do it. So we're just gonna not do it. And I was okay with that. I think what was difficult was a lot of our what might be considered funner projects were kind of replaced by just boring essays. And so that, and then kind of adding on that internet stress that you were talking about, Ms. Vicky, with everybody in the house and everybody in the neighborhood trying to be on the internet at the same time. It's like, it took what normally took like maybe 5 minutes to look up took like 30 minutes just to look up like one question or something. And so that definitely added a lot of stress with trying to finish up essays and trying to take tests and study for tests and things like that. So yeah, that was a little difficult. Really the biggest stressor was that internet portion. But like I said, my professors were really understanding, and so they were, I think some of them were a lot more lenient on grading. So I was really thankful for that. Which, I mean, I think taking into consideration, like a lot of our professors were kind of entering new territory too. Like some of them with kids who are having to stay at home all day with their kids and they're not used to that and things like that. And so we were all just having to give each other a whole bunch of grace. And so I think my experience went well with that. And then when actual graduation hit, my communication studies department, put on a virtual graduation ceremony. And so it was like, I think it was on Facebook Live. And even though we couldn't see each other in person, we were able to like comment congratulations to people and say hey to some of our classmates that we hadn't seen since March. And so I think they really tried their best to give us a sense of what it might be normally, but on a computer. And so it didn't just feel like I was closing my computer and yay, I'm done with college kind of thing. So yeah.
So fellow.
Okay. Can you repeat the question for me, please?
No problem. Zoom Master. What platform did y'all use in school? What platform did y'all use?
So in school, it took about a week for them to figure out what they were going to do, if they were just going to keep sending the work online. And then eventually we had to get on Zoom weekly. But for me, I think it was a little bit different because I said to myself, as of March 13th, I'm a graduated senior. So I didn't get on it anymore. And yeah, I had one CPCC class that I had to finish. So that was an online class already. So it wasn't much different for me, and then a lot of students, maybe the kids that were like slacking in school, I think it was a rude awakening for them because it's like, okay, now I have to really catch up because if I wasn't passing my class as of March 13th, now I have to make up all this work and I have to figure out how Zoom works, all of this stuff, making up papers and stuff like that.
Wow. Well, you made it through. You survived. And again, y'all were born with cell phones in your hands, so I knew you would probably figure it out.
Right.
Definitely. I got a question though, real quick, guys. If there was one thing that you could get back in a perfect world, in my world right now, one thing that you could get back, only one for this last year, what would that one thing be?
And that's for everybody. Coach Nicole, Wallace.
Okay, yeah, we do that. Yeah.
I want to know.
I want Bria, you go first, and then we gonna hear from fellow. Let's do it like that.
Oh, pressure. Okay. Oh, what would it be? Oh wow. Y'all might have to come back at me. I don't know.
Everybody get one pass. That's it.
Okay. That's all you get. Fellow, what you got?
Okay. So for me, I would say junior prom. I think that was one of the most important things that I missed, would be junior prom.
Boom.
How
So you
about
did both of them.
Good answer. Do like the game show. Good answer. Good answer.
Yeah, I missed both.
Oh, okay.
come on, Mr. Snoop?
What I want to get back from this school year?
Yeah, well, Miss Vicky included everybody, so yeah, let's get that. Whatever one thing you could get back from the school year.
Oh man, that's a tough question, Miss Lewis. That is a very. I'm using my one pass. Get him, coach.
I got you.
All right, coach.
All right. Yay.
Passing it on.
For me, selfishly speaking, would be the state championship game.
Yeah.
I would love to get that back. But for my kids, I would say a traditional graduation. Just have an opportunity for that, because that's a once in a lifetime thing for most of our students, for a lot of our students.
Yeah.
I like that.
Oh, sorry.
I was just saying I like that, coach, because I'm gonna tell you, I still feel like I hadn't cried yet. So no, y'all don't understand. It's very emotional. I cry at church when they announce them at church. So but go ahead, Bria. I'm gonna stop. I digress.
Yeah, I'll have to say the same thing as Coach Nicole. Is just a traditional graduation, because even though we do get sort of a graduation in August, at least for now, no, who knows at this point, it's still going to be very different with, like we're going to have a hard time, maybe hugging each other, and, lots of us probably going to have to wear masks and all these different things. So that would be the one thing, just that traditional graduation where I get to hug everybody goodbye, where I get to take all the pictures with all the people, and have that closure of college.
Okay.
I think the world has definitely been trying to pull things together and make do. So
definitely.
And I'm gonna do a two-tiered answer like Coach did. Selfish speakingly, that's selfless versus selfish. Selfish speaking, when the pandemic hit, I don't know if you heard of it, I'm a motivational keynote speaker that I had like 41 engagements up through the summer, booked, ready to go. And plus my last 3 months with the State Board of Education was all snatched away that fast. So that went away. But for the babies, all the events they missed, y'all. They will not be able to get that back. And for the first time as a principal, I wasn't able to fix it for my students. I could fix everything else when I got them at school, but I could not fight that pandemic. I could not fix it for them when they called and they were upset about it. So.
Thank you for that, Principal Wallace. And going back to what Bria said, because I didn't allow myself a chance to really process what she said and just to look at her face, and fellow too. But Bria, I know this is college for you, and now you're thrust into the real world and that closure. Going back to some of the things you shared about not being able to have that traditional transition, I think is the best word, because that's a life event, a major life event. Graduate from college, you transition from that protection into the real world where you're supposed to be technically on your own, right?
Yeah.
And like Principal Wallace just shared, as a leader and someone who has the ability and authority to make a lot of change happen, to not be able to do that and not to be able to be that connector for his students, and then you not being able to receive that so that you can properly transition. Again, my heart goes out to that. And, my prayer is that it won't be a void that will be, empty for long. That, you dig deep, and through the resilience, you and fellow and all the graduates 2020, and I'll share some more when I know Natasha's going to do the round circle, full circle. But, you dug deep and you got through it. And that shows a level of resilience that no one else really can say that they experience. You all are unique being a class of 2020, and so you're going down in history. Okay, so just take that and be proud of it. And as you go out here into the real world and you're seeking, whatever employment and business opportunities there are for you all, one level of respect is going to be that resiliency, because you did make it through that finish line. So I just wanted to go back and mention that to you guys as words of encouragement, because it sparked when Principal Wallace shared not being able to fix it, you know, and us as parents and adults, we wanted to be able to try and fix it. And I think that was the one thing we couldn't do.
And speaking of parents, and speaking of parents, I do just want to really quick shout out my parents, just because, you know, when D'Angela, Jerron Perry, I know y'all, because when Raleigh North, when I came home, after they had kicked us out of the dorms, they kind of already knew that it was going to be really hard for me to transition, and kind of thinking ahead to how hard that transition would be from being done with college and coming into adulthood, sort of, quote unquote, even though I'm still living with them. And they did everything they could to just kind of make it comfortable for me at home, and, you know, trying to give me the space that I needed, and constantly checking in on my mental health and on just me regularly, and you know, trying to be understanding parents. And so I really appreciate them, and they played a huge role in me being able to finish school as strong as I did. So shout out to Jerron and D'Angela Perry, y'all are great.
So Bria shout out to the parents, but I'm just curious to know, because usually graduation is that day the parents really get to pump their chest, and, you know, yeah, you know, and so they can get that. You think it affected them at all? I'm just curious. I know they supported you, but it's like, you know, that they missed that moment. They missed their moment, you know.
Absolutely. I think especially my mom, because she's like you, she likes to cry. And so I'm pretty confident that she would have cried her eyes out at my graduation. And just, you know, she loves to show our family and our family friends how proud she is of both of her children, me and my brother. And so just missing that moment was, I'm sure, hard for both of them. And then just talking about like graduation parties and cookouts that could go on afterwards, like we're in the process of trying to see kind of how we can do that in a modified sense now. But I know that there was a lot that them as parents missed out on, just kind of showing how proud they are of me in that arena.
How about you, fellow?
I also want to do a shout out, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to shout out to not only my parents, but all of my family that were in the midst of this crisis and everything going on. That were willing to risk coming down to Charlotte from the different cities that they live in to help me celebrate the graduation. And then also my band director, because he did a drive-through kind of ceremony for all of his band students. So I just want to say thank you to you all.
Oh.
Awesome.
Oh, that was so touching. I felt that.
I'm just sitting here,
Y'all on me now. Y'all gonna make me get my crown right here.
Go ahead.
I feel it right here.
Mr. Snoop, you had something to say.
No, I'm sitting here laughing at you. Well, Bree just threw it over there like, yeah, it's like Miss Lewis loved to cry. I said, boy, I was about to die.
Look, she said it.
But I
again, as we see that.
One last thing, and then we're gonna get out of here. But I did want to just kind of bring up the current affairs with the pandemic going on. I can't ignore the fact that you both are African Americans, and so I'm just curious to know, both of you guys are embarking on new chapters of your lives, and one is completely stepping into adulthood, and one is stepping into, I think I'm an adult, but I'm going to find out in as soon as classes start that I'm really not. So it's one of those type of things. So, but in all essence, there's going to be a greater level of independence, decision making, and all of those things. So I'm just wondering how you guys are feeling. What's your temperature as it relates to the social injustice, the protesting, all of these things that are happening when you're seeing the news? I got one African American male, and then I have an African American female that are both on this panel that are changing chapters. So, who'd like to go first? Which one of you guys? I want to hear from you guys.
I can go.
Go for it.
It's definitely been a trying last month, I will say, because I've been pretty passionate about social and specifically racial justice since I've been in college, pretty much. And so I'm finding myself in the center of a lot of hard conversations, whether it's with all Black people or whether it's with Black and white people or a mix of people, or whether it's just all white people and I'm the only African American there. And so I've had to set a lot of boundaries for myself when it comes to that stuff, because I can get really caught up in not just the conversations that I'm having with people personally, but just like the social media and the constant updates and having to decide whether I want to take a break from all of that, but then sacrifice not knowing what's going on. And I've had to set a lot of boundaries there. And I've had a lot of days and nights where I'm just in tears at the unrest that has been going on since before all of this came up. But, now that we're in this pandemic and all of the distractions are gone, it's kind of all in our face. And, you can't really look anywhere without, digitally without seeing what's going on. And so that's hard mentally. And even knowing kind of the history of how we got here and what's going on with that. And so I've had to set a lot of boundaries for myself. I spent a lot of time, more time than I probably ever have in prayer. So that's good. God's getting a lot of me right now. And just kind of just having to find joy wherever I can and peace wherever I can. And knowing that even though we're going through all of this, we as African Americans have come through so much. The fact that we celebrated Juneteenth last Friday, that was probably the first time a lot of Black folks even knew what Juneteenth was. And now we get to have this whole day of just celebrating where we've come from and how much we've fought to get where we are. And so just thinking about that and, finding ways to fill myself up, and that has been a big help. But it hasn't come without, like I said, its share of tears and even screams here and there. And yeah. So,
That's that. And thank you, Ms. Natasha, for asking that question and us initiating that discussion, because that's another layer of what you all have to go through. We started off with COVID. We started off with the change in our lifestyles and the change with education. And now we're dealing with this societal unrest. It's like a rubber band. We can only be but so resilient. Mm-hmm. And a rubber band that just keeps expanding, it hasn't had a chance to relax and go back in. It's another layer of trauma. So thank you for sharing your thoughts about that, Bria.
Absolutely.
Thank you. That was really great. And it's good to hear it from different perspectives, from different age groups. And I can celebrate that you said prayer. I love that because to be honest, myself, Mr. Snoop, Coach Nicole, even Vicky, we are where we are. And some of the things that you guys are getting now, we never saw it. We had to be silent. Mm-hmm. We just had to go out, and we looked at statues. We dealt with all of those things for so long, but to see it actually coming to a head and seeing things change right now, I'm just super excited, even though it can be a little scary. So prayer is definitely what we had to use. So it's good to know that our young people that are embarking upon the career world and that's getting ready to, be in charge of our nation still utilize prayer. So thank you, Ms. Bria, for that. I guess now we have a male, African-American male. You guys are a hot topic right now. Mm. So Mr. Fellow, how are you feeling about all of this that's going on? What's going on?
I would say that this is definitely an eye opener. Sometimes I find myself looking over my shoulder when I go out. When you drive past the police, you kind of get worried a little bit. It's definitely different. I would say that I think that part of the reason that I want to go to school for criminal justice is because of this. It was a movie. It was Michael B. Jordan. He was the lawyer. I can't think of the name of it, but that was kind of like an inspiration because I want to help be a part of the change. What did you say?
Just,
the movie called?
Just Mercy.
Yes, that was it.
Just Mercy.
It was kind of an inspiration for me because I want to help be a part of the change. I want to be able to do something. And then when you turn on the TV, you turn on the news, all you see is all of these killings and shootings and crazy stuff. And then even when you get on Instagram, all I see all down my timeline is just all of this stuff about social injustice and Breonna Taylor, all of the different people that have been killed and things. I think it's crazy, and then sometimes you have to unplug. Like I think Bria said, you have to unplug and just distance yourself from it because it can be a bit much on you. So.
Hello. Yeah, I just wanted to chime in because what he hit right on is that on his timeline, on his social media, that's the concern I have for my kids. They in the TikTok world. So they were like, Ma, they were showing me a video. I was like, no. We don't need to watch that. You know, and you have to decipher between when is enough, because as young as they are, as old as, we can be, there's a limit to what we can take before it starts to have a negative impact on us. So thank you for sharing that, fellow.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for unplugging too. Because I found, to be honest with you, the more we watch it, it brings something out of you that you didn't know you had, or something that, when you got in church and you got saved and delivered, it brings something back that you thought was gone. And so you have to, okay, thank y'all for agreeing with me. Praise God. So you have to unplug every so often. You have to cut off the television. You can't watch these conventions when they come together and say the people outside are bad. I'm gonna move on. I digress. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna ask Mr. Snoop if you would share with us how you've been impacted by this. Same question I have for the youngsters. I just want to know you guys' input on that.
I would say when I first saw the video, as Vicky said earlier, I think that rubber band was almost popped. I'm of the generation of what we call the pseudo beginning, and I'm not going to say in 1985 where they dropped the bomb up in Philly. I'm not going to use that one because that should have been the beginning. I'm not going to say Emmett Till when the 1950s when that should have been the beginning. I'm going to say when Rodney King got beat in the 90s. For my generation, should have been the beginning, and then to see the one in New York. I can't ever say his last name, Adiallo, or something like that. When they shot him 17 times, that should have been the beginning of what we're seeing now. But after getting through much of personal turmoil and just reflecting of where we've been, what we've had to endure, and hopefully where we're going, concern for you two sitting right here, the youth, I got to say that it has been difficult. I can say that I am heartened. I'm not going to say disheartened. I'm heartened to see the allies of the movement come forward and the establishment taking a stand, i.e. not at the federal, not at the top, but our state leaders and a whole lot of companies and Fortune 500 companies making this an issue and letting America and letting these people know that we're not going to stand for this anymore. We're not going to expect, as my generation and your generation, to be silent anymore. I'm actually working locally and at the state level to make sure that we have equity going across the board. So it has lit a fire in me. But what does give me pain, as y'all just said, is to see the deeply insensitive and just downright mean comments of certain citizens of this great state that I had no idea felt the way they felt. Sometimes God has a way of revealing to you what you need to know so you'll know how to proceed. That's the very, very bad thing that's happening right now that I'm seeing, that you just gotta say it. So you post it, and then when you get in trouble for it, oh, well, I didn't know that was your true heart. Your heart comes out first, and the mind tries to correct you. Okay. So I'll say that it's again, when I first saw the video, I was torn. Even got a picture of how I look. I wouldn't dare send it, but I got a picture of how I look because it broke me. But then to come see where we're going now and that the movement is still going 2 months later, we're still rolling with it. Just to see that it has finally begun and hopefully it can be sustained and result into real meaningful change.
I thank you. And you're exactly right. One of the things that I can celebrate, and it still brings chills to me, is to see the unity. To see that our Asian, our Latino, our Caucasian, they've been our brothers and sisters all along, but they've been silent. And they stopped the silence and they're speaking now. And to see them walk and stand with us and hold their fist in the air, take that knee right beside us, not in the background or ahead of us. I can really say that regardless of a pandemic, I still see change.
Right.
And so I celebrate that. When we discuss it, it's not an issue of us being angry with everybody. It's just a discussion on having to tolerate what we tolerated for so long and feeling like we've been in this fight alone. And so now to see that everybody's standing together, oh man, it just makes everybody want to fight even the more and to keep pushing. So I'm sorry, I ain't gonna keep talking. Go ahead, Miss Nicole. Coach, come on, Coach, give me something.
Before Coach Stetson, I just wanted to piggyback off of what Principal Wallace shared briefly, because I know we are getting up to our time. But again, it's like that the look or the shock of when we watched the video. And I think what happened was COVID set the environment. We were all in a global crisis. And our guards went down because we then had a sense for the fellow man. That happened first. And God don't make no mistakes. So that happened first. And then it got us to where we were vulnerable to each other. So when the societal unrest hit again, we were more susceptible to get our global allies in to help support that effort, because that's the voice we needed. Our voice has always been there,
Right.
but it has been a little muffled. They expect our voice, but they didn't expect the world's voice to rally behind. That's a whole thing, because we're going to talk about that next week, but I just wanted to chime in on what Snoop just shared. So Coach Nicole.
And, I'd like to kind of piggyback off of what the young people said. For me, just being inundated with those images and just watching the news all day long, because you kind of want to stay on top of what's going on. I really had to, take a step back and kind of unplug, because if you keep watching that and keep getting bombarded with those images and the commentary behind it, it's easy to think that all is wrong in the world and that there's no good out there. But I think sometimes you have to take a step back and kind of gain perspective and kind of look at what's going right in your life, and the lives of others around you, so that you won't get fixated on all that is wrong. So for me, it's really just taking a step back just to regain positive perspective.
Definitely. Y'all got me over here feeling some type of way. Y'all went deep on us. We're deep.
It's right here now. That cries right here.
Telling y'all pushing me there. You pushing me there.
She go.
And
Look, Mr. Snoop, now you know you was feeling it. You was feeling it a minute ago.
Yeah, I was feeling
I
it.
mean, he just want to laugh.
That would Bree up here. I got to be careful.
Now, this is
Right.
Really get you, boy.
Look, that's what y'all gotta do.
this is the Snoop I knew from Carolina. Yes, that laugh, boy. Don't get him laughing, because he gonna keep laughing. But, I think it's a great segue into bringing it full circle, because I think we touched on it as we were talking about what's going on in our society. And, we all know our balances. So Natasha, take us full circle so we can go ahead and say our final thoughts.
Yes. So our full circle moment is kind of a summary of thoughts and feelings, and I'm going to ask you a specific question. But this time I don't have a question. Actually, I want you to just share, Coach, now in 60 seconds. Now, 60 seconds, Coach. I mean, not Coach. I'm sorry, Mr. Snoop. 60 seconds.
I'm first. I didn't know I was first.
Not Coach. I'm sorry, Coach. You know he can go. But I'm just messing. He'll principal. But definitely 60 seconds or less. Your personal message that you would have to the class of 2020 and also America right now.
Okay, I would say to the class of 2020.
I'm going to start with.
You just said Principal Wallace.
Is it me or the coach and the coach?
Yeah. It's you.
Okay. All right. I'm going to say to the class of 2020 that you are the true illustration of perseverance, endurance, and resiliency. You are who I want to be when I grow up. You have endured and you have just completed your educational journey through the toughest of times. You have set the bar for America to follow, because they always ask in the 21st century, they want you. They want you to be the token of adaptability. They want you to be problem solvers. They want you to be creators. And you have just illustrated and exemplified every last one of those constructs. And you've kept your head high and you didn't complain. So I would say to you, salute to you. Again, I want to be like you when I grow up, and you keep being you, because you will be great in the future. Trust me, your educational journey has prepared you for it.
Wow.
And to America.
And to America, yeah, what I said, yeah.
They can have that too.
They need that too.
Yeah, America, be like them. Trust me, learn from them.
Let's switch it up a little bit. Come on, Bria.
Ooh, what could I say to the class of 2020? I can say that we are out of the box thinkers, and lots of people have told us what we can't do, and we continue to prove them wrong. And so we're going to continue to do that. That's how we change the world. That's how we make a difference, is by continuously coming up with, first of all, saying what we're not going to take anymore, because I think that's something that we've done. Something that I've seen us do is saying what we're not going to take anymore, and here's what we're going to do to fix it, and not caring what people tell us what we can't do, but just going ahead until we hit a roadblock and taking another direction. So to the class of 2020, we are doing it. We are unique, and we are out of the box thinkers, and no one can tell us no.
All right.
Awesome.
All right, girl.
All right. That was beautiful. Coach.
Okay. The class of 2020 has proven that there's nothing that they can't do, and nothing that they can't handle. They've adapted, they've persevered in the midst of chaos and managed to get the job done. They have been equipped to handle any situation and any challenge that they may face. So I just say continue to press forward, knocking down any and all barriers that stand in your way.
And to America.
Same.
I love it.
Period.
Right.
All right, come on, fellow.
Okay, the first thing I want to say to class of 2020 is, for the high school graduates, we finally made it. 13 long, hard years. It's officially over. We're going on to the next big thing. Keep working, keep pushing harder. Let this quarantine be the time that you work even harder to what you want to do. Anything is attainable with hard work, and keep God first.
Yes.
Amen.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Anything you want to say to America?
Okay, to America, I want to say, with the protesting, the rioting, COVID-19, I want to say be smart, know when to speak up and know when to just hold your peace, and just because everything is not worth the argument and the debate and all of that stuff. So I'll just say be smart and be safe.
That's good.
Good answer. That's a good answer.
I love that. That sometimes that's the best thing we need is just to be smart. Just simple, be smart. I like that. I'm gonna get a hashtag, be smart. That's gonna be my next t-shirt. Miss Vicky.
So again, guys, I just want to thank you guys for joining this panel because we felt it was a great opportunity to share. Like I said, there's a common thread with mental health and how there's an undertone in all aspects of our lives. So to the class of 2020 in particular, because we've been hit with so much, we felt it was an opportunity for y'all's voice to be heard. And, you know, Miss Bria, Mr. Fellow, representing that class, Coach Nicole, Principal Wallace, representing the leadership in our school systems. You know, it just helped show that we all had to band together, lock arms together to get all those children, how you say, Snoop, every child across that stage, the virtual stage of graduation. So, you know, again, for such a time as this, there's a couple things happening that's unique in this time, right? It's like a perfect eclipse where you have the class of 2020, who's also part of this major transition and movement that's happening in our society. It's this virtual generation that's got this thing buzzed out because y'all are so in tune with technology, but you're using it for the good, meaning it's getting the word out and people can't hide behind what has been going on and been done in the dark. So for such a time as this, I really think that there's a reason why this is happening when it's happening. And there's a reason why we have global attention. There's a reason why you all have went through what you've been going through because y'all are being prepared for what's to come. And you all have to lead us, lead the previous generations that have been trying, have been constantly fighting, but we haven't knocked all the doors down. We finally have the potential to knock these doors down and keep them down. So I'm prideful and I'm excited to see what's to come. I pray the hedge of protection around the class of 2020 and America. That includes our Black America and our Brown America. And then, of course, the United States of America. I pray the hedge of protection because this is spiritual warfare that we're going through. And we're going to need all hands on deck to fight this one. So you all are the leaders. You all have the power and the know-how and the the cohesiveness to strategize and get it done. That's the key. We don't want to get lost in the emotion. And that's why I don't agree with listening and watching all these videos because we get caught up in that emotional part. It's okay to get enough of it to be educated about what's going on. But don't let that steer you and distract you from the ultimate goal. So that's my advice to you all. I'm counting on you all, and I'm counting on America to make it right. Thank you, Ms.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. In closing, when I listen to you guys' statements and watch so many movies and read books and things of that nature, and I look at what happened years ago with slavery and things of that nature. And I say to myself, never could I have ever. I wouldn't have made it. But then I began to realize that God created me for the time that I'm in. And the experiences that I had when I had them was because I was able to do that. And now when I look at the class of 2020, I say, oh my God, never would I've ever been able to survive not having this and not having that. And so I didn't have to go through that because I wasn't equipped and I wasn't built for that time. The Bible says that he'll never put more on us than we are able to bear.
Amen.
And you guys have bared a great, huge burden that you will never forget. But the things that have been said today, you guys have made history. But not only that, you guys are like firecrackers and fire stars. You've changed so many things and you've shown us so many ways that we can still make things happen. So with that being said, you guys have what it takes to be great and to be the starters of change. And I want to tell you guys, I'm proud of you. I'm sorry you missed the graduation. I'm sorry you missed the prom. I'm sorry you couldn't get your milkshake at Cookout. I'm so sorry. But at the end of the day, better is the end of a thing than the beginning of. You're just getting started, baby. It's going to be better. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Gravity Talks. We're going to see you guys next week. And definitely, before this show is over and even after the fact, send a shout out to your senior, any senior that's connected to you that you want to say congratulations to, anybody. Put their name up, put their school up, rep your school, rep your. But thank you. Thank you guys for tuning in. And again, congratulations, class of 2020. God bless you all. Till next time.
God bless you all. God bless you all. And as Ms. Lewis mentioned, we do have a graduate posted here, Richard Thrash Jr. Looks like Cedric Thrash wanted to send a shout out for him. And let's see, we have some shout outs for Principal Wallace, of course, New Bern's finest, Mr. Jabari, aka Snoop Wallace, representing Pirate Pride, East Carolina University. We have a few congratulations for Bria Perry. Your Raleigh North Christian Center Church loves you. So they are definitely on here supporting.
Love y'all.
Fellow, your grandma on here, honey. So I know you're special. So Miss Daisy says, congratulations, fellow. I'm so proud of you. So again, we got all the support. Coach Nicole, we have some hearts up here. Let's see. They got some green hearts, some green and blue hearts.
Okay,
So
Southeast.
So just wanted to again thank you for your time today, Miss Lewis. Thank you.
Thank you. Remember, guys, like and share. Like and share. Have a good one.
Stay blessed, y'all. Take care.